Good morning, scholars. Today is Monday, May 11th, 2020. In our math work today, we're going to be changing things up. We've been working on our story problems, but today we're going to have a twist. This week, in fact, we're going to be checking out some story problems that have not just one thing that we need to do, but two things we need to do. So let's take a look at an example of that before we jump into our time work today. So in this problem, it says, on Monday, the second graders sold 8 glasses of lemonade. They sold some more on Tuesday. On Wednesday, that should be they sold 5 glasses. 26 glasses were sold in all. How many glasses were sold on Tuesday? Excuse me, scholars. Good thing I read that back to myself. Okay, now scholars, we already have the same 4 steps that we're going to do. We know that we read the problem, we highlight the keywords and numbers, we create an equation, and then we solve it to make sure that we do our job. Let's take a look at what keywords and numbers we need to find today. All right, scholars, so on Monday, we see that the 8th graders sold 8 glasses of lemonade. They sold some more. Remember, scholars, how we know some more tells us there's going to be more we have to add, but we just don't know how much. So some more are always keywords. We don't know how much that is, though. And then, now that was on Tuesday. Wednesday, they sold 5 glasses. Now, there were 26 glasses sold in all. Remember what in all tells us? It tells us that we have a sum. So now here's our job. How many glasses were sold on Tuesday? Remember, Tuesday was that sum more. We don't know what that is. Let's make an equation with it now. So we're going to use our 8. We know on Tuesday they sold some more. Remember, when we don't know how much more, we add, and we can just put in a question mark for that. And then we know that they sold 5 more glasses on Wednesday. And then we saw that there were 26 glasses sold in all. All right, scholars, so here we go. We have an equation. We have 8 plus question mark plus 5 equals 26. And now we have to do our first step. First of all, we need to know what 8 plus 5 is. So I'm going to put those two together. So here's job number 1. Job number 1 is we're going to add 8 plus 5. Scholars, we could do that pretty quickly. So 8 plus 5 equals 13. Quick math fact, guys. So that's not something we have to take a long time on, but we want to make sure we do it first. Now in step 2, we're going to put that 13 back into our equation. So we know 13 plus question mark still equals our 26, which is our sum. Now we can make a place value chart to solve for this. So we know that we will need to get to 26. So far we only have this 13 right here. So I'm going to draw my 13. 3 ones, 110. And what we're solving for, scholars, is this question mark right here. What makes 26 when I have 13? Well, I have to add 1, 2, 3 more because 3 plus 3 equals 6, and 110 because 110 plus another 10 equals 2 10s. So I see that that my question mark there is 13. Or that the number sold on Tuesday, number of glasses sold on Tuesday is 13. Scholars, remember when we're thinking about our word problems, it doesn't matter if it's a big long one or a tiny short one. We do the same steps. We have to read it carefully. We're going to highlight our keywords and numbers. We're going to make an equation, and then we have to solve. Sometimes there's going to be more than one step to be able to solve the equation. So we want to make sure we take time to think about what the problem's telling us. That's why we read it, and when we're looking for those keywords and numbers, we're reading it again. We don't have to just do it 1 or 2 times even. We can keep on reading until we understand what our job is. All right, scholars, we have been working on time, and we already know that the shorthand tells us what? You got it. It tells us the hour. So when we're thinking about time, we always start with the hour. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and so on. And then the minute, we're counting not by ones anymore. We're going to count by fives at each of these big numbers. So our longhand tells us the minutes, and we'll count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and so on, till we get right back up to 0 at the top of the clock. Now, scholars, today we're going to take some time to think about how our clocks are separated into two 12-hour blocks called AM and PM. So when we think about AM, we are thinking about the 12-hour period from midnight to noon. So midnight, remember, is that time late at night when all of us should be asleep, and all the way till noon when we eat lunch. So we often think about that as our morning time and in the middle of the night time. We call those times, AM. So 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. Those are all times we're asleep. 7 a.m., it could be when we start waking up. 8 a.m., maybe we're having breakfast and getting ready to head to school once we get back to school. 9 a.m., we're at school and we're working. 10 a.m., we're getting ready to take a recess break. 11 a.m., we're finishing up with some work and starting to get ready for our lunch. And at noon, we're out at lunch. That's 12 p.m. now. PM is the 12-hour period that starts right at noon and goes to midnight. So remember, we have two 12-hour blocks. So at noon, that's when we're out having lunch or our lunch recess. Then we have 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., that's when we usually would be getting out of school. 4 p.m., we're back at home or in the after-school program. We're working on things. So PM is what we generally think of as our afternoon and evening time. So 4 p.m., 5 p.m., some people might start having dinner then, or 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. 8 p.m., we're probably getting ourselves ready for bed. 9 p.m., we're all in bed and ready to sleep. 10 p.m., 11 p.m., and then we're back to midnight, which is 12 a.m. again. So remember, scholars, when we think about our time, we can have AM and we can have PM. AM is from midnight until noon. That's when we think of in the middle of the night and the morning. PM is noon until midnight. It's the time that happens from lunchtime all the way until dinner time and when we get ready for sleep. Noon, 12 p.m., all the way till midnight. All right, scholars, in your work today, you're going to be watching another quick video that helps us understand AM and PM, and you're going to be taking some time to look at things that happen throughout our day, and you're going to just say, would that happen in AM or PM? Have an awesome day of learning.